Not all low porosity hair types are created equal because porosity is an infinite spectrum. So the only reasonable way to approach this topic is by placing each range into 3 groups. Your hair may not fit all these characteristics I'm about to go over, but if you fit most of or even some of these characteristics, it's safe to assume that your hair is somewhere within the low porosity range. Unlike hair that's high in porosity, low porosity hair takes a longer time to dry when it's soaking wet. Here's why. The function of the cuticle layers of a hair strand is to protect the more fragile layers underneath from all types of things like wear and tear, excessive heat, and water overload. So when hair with tight cuticles gets wet, water slowly seeps in. Your tight cuticles make it possible for your hair to take in what it needs and reject the rest in the form of water beads. These water beads are a big indication that your hair is low in porosity. The water that did penetrate are held in tightly and slowly escapes over time. Hence why if your hair is low in porosity, it can feel like forever for your hair to dry. And if you put product on top of your soaking wet hair, it'll take even longer to dry. This is not a good thing because too much moisture in your hair for too long can cause inflammation in your scalp, damage your hair follicles, and potentially slow down your hair growth. It can also potentially cause an infection on your scalp. But this potentially big problem has 2 simple solutions to pick from. Option 1. After washing and conditioning your hair, blot it with a paper towel before adding products to it. To me, paper towels do the best job because they soak up a lot of water. If you blot your hair with a paper towel long enough, you'll be able to remove a good amount of water. Option 2. You can also use a blow dryer. With all the negative talk about heat, I know you're probably a little scared of these, but the reality is that blow dryers have many beneficial uses other than for stretching. But overall, make sure your hair is just slightly damp before adding heavy products to it. Since we mentioned products, I think this is the best time to talk about product buildup because it's a big issue with low porosity hair types. Product buildup occurs because your tight, flat cuticle layers make it difficult for products like creams, oils, and conditioners to penetrate easily, so they end up just sitting on the surface of your hair strands. As you add more and more product, the layers thicken and harden. It makes your hair feel less flexible, and more importantly, that layer of product blocks the invisible transaction of moisture from the air. Over time, as that layer of product dries out and hardens, your hair strand underneath also dries out too, and leaves your hair feeling gummy, stiff, and gross. You'll also notice that your go-to products aren't working the way they used to. There are different severities of product buildup, and any hair type can experience product buildup, but it happens quicker and more easily with hair that's low in porosity. In other words, product buildup is pretty much an inevitable issue for naturals with low porosity hair. None of us want to spend our money on products just for it to sit on our hair and dry up. So here's the solution. Use heat. Everyone is so scared of heat because of the potential of heat damage. But if used correctly, heat can be very beneficial. In the case of avoiding unhealthy product buildup, the use of indirect heat helps relax your tight cuticles enough for products to penetrate. Invest in a hooded dryer or one of these bonnet dryers. And every time you condition your hair, wear a shower cap and sit under the dryer for 30 minutes or so. You'll notice a huge difference because the heat helps relax your naturally tight cuticles enough for the conditioner to penetrate. If your finances are a little low at the moment, you can also just use a shower cap to generate heat. So every time you condition and moisturize your hair, wear a shower cap. The length of time you wear it depends on how low in porosity your hair is. If you have super tight cuticles, meaning you have a really hard time with product buildup and really stiff hair, you can afford to leave the shower cap on for an hour or two. You can wear it overnight if you like, just make sure you only do that once in a while, because there is such thing as overdoing it. Unless you're purposely trying to do so, making wearing a shower cap overnight a regular thing can potentially permanently weaken your cuticles and increase your hair's porosity. This condition is called hygral fatigue. Also, this is really important. Before trying out any of these new tips, clarify your hair first. This is super important because if you're going to walk around with old dried up residue on your hair strands, everything you do is not going to work right. And you're going to end up having this false belief that something is wrong with your hair, or your hair is quote unquote sensitive to something, when it's really just months of residue buildup blocking your hair from receiving it. So please clarify your hair on a consistent schedule. A rule of thumb, if you use a lot of products or you use heavy products, clarify your hair once a month. If you're not as product heavy, clarify your hair once every 2 months or 10 weeks. Overall, it's important to be consistent to wipe the slate clean on a schedule. In between, you should still continue to wash your hair with your go-to moisturizing cleansers. One last thing before I move on to the next topic. A lot of people claim to have some sort of coconut oil sensitivity. Unless you have a real contact allergy with nut oils, in which case this does not apply to you, most of you will be surprised to know that what's actually happening is that your hair is low in porosity and or suffering from overall product buildup. So when you apply an oil that solidifies easily, like coconut oil, it takes too long for the coconut oil to penetrate because your cuticles are too tight to absorb it fast enough. Over time and with repeated use, what ends up happening is that most of the coconut oil cools and hardens on the surface of your hair and creates a gummy, sticky film. Try this. First, a little goes a long way, so try not to use too much at one time. And second, after adding coconut oil to your hair, wear a shower cap for like 30 to 60 minutes. Or to speed up the process, hop in the shower. This way the steam helps your cuticles relax a little so the coconut oil can penetrate and work its magic. And according to the United States Department of Agriculture National Nutrient Database, coconut oil has absolutely no protein. So please don't believe anyone that tells you coconut oil is a protein treatment, because it's not. This video has taken up way too much of your time in just one sitting, so I'll stop here. As always, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.